Hi, I'm Tasha from Tasha Quilts, and I finally finished my Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt. If you've ever thought about doing a Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt, I encourage you to stay through this video where I'll give you my honest opinions, pros and considerations, and my final ruling on if I would ever do one again. It is the Flyway Quilt in the Free Bird colorway. These are Tula Pink fabrics, and it is done. And overall, I have mixed feelings. I really like the middle. I really like the pattern, but I feel that the edges get a little murky or muddy is what I like. And I know that people might not like that, but I really find these outer edges muddy, and I find these little center pieces muddy. There's not a lot of contrast for me. And if you know me, I like contrast. I like seeing this light color against a dark color. I like contrast. That's who I am as a human. So some of these decisions here on putting some of these fabrics together it's not for me. So to baseline where we started with this, I purchased this Cotton Cuts. Oh yeah, Flyway. I did it as a prepaid. So I got it all at one time, and I paid with shipping and tax and everything, $338.04 for this kit. I did get the Oopsie kit, which I didn't need. I'm not sure if I were to do one of these again, I would suggest getting the Oops kit. If you are missing some fabric, I wasn't missing any, but I do know a few people who had missing fabric from their kits, and they had nothing but good things to say about the Cotton Cuts team getting them the replacement fabric. So I'm not sure an Oops kit was necessary, but it is nice to have the extra fabric. So I'm not mad I got it or anything. So this is the large size Oops kit, $313. I did not get extra borders or any of the backing or anything. This is just the quilt top that you see. To start, I want to talk about things I liked. So I think the pattern itself is great. I think the pattern writer is talented. When you look at the secondary patterns in the different colorways, you can see one pattern, you can see secondary patterns. I think the pattern itself is great. I liked having something to look forward to each month. So every month I knew when the clue was getting released, and I really, really enjoyed having something to look forward to. And I loved not having to cut any fabric each month. I loved that it was there, it was cut, and was ready to sew. And going forward, I just want to state, because sometimes these videos get a little bit heated, everything in this video is my opinion. I think anyone who wants to try a mystery quilt should. I'm giving my fair and valid opinions, and you can disagree, but please just do it nicely. So what didn't I like about this colorway? And if you've watched any of my videos, you're going to know that I did not like E and F together. They were put them together. They were everywhere. And when you put these two fabrics in black and white, they're virtually the same. These two fabrics to me do not belong next to each other, especially once you start cutting them up. I think that was not a choice I would have made, and it ruined the quilt for me, to be quite honest with you. You can see here, those two fabrics are together, in like this block right here. We've got some around the corners. It might as well just be one fabric to me, in my opinion. It really just might as well. Like, what is this middle block here? It might as well just be one block. To me, that looks exactly the same. It brings nothing to it, the fact that those two fabrics are together. I know I am firm in my position, and I know there are many of you who disagree, but those two fabrics together just ruined this for me. The other thing I didn't like is that there are large prints in this kit, and these two are the exact same blocks. When you cut this fabric up, you can have this one that reads green and this one that reads purple. I kept like all the things that looked purple with the block, and then I kept all the things that looked green. Maybe I should have mixed and matched. But to be honest, when you get the fabric cut up, it's just in these big stacks, and I was just kind of grabbing and going. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll keep them together. You really don't know what the end quilt looks like. So it's hard to make these decisions on, should I make this one purple on the outside? Should I make this one green on the inside? Should it be half and half? I don't know what things are going to line up against. So to me, choosing a big print was not the way to go, because like I said, these two blocks are the same, yet they're very different. This one's a purple on purple, and this one's a green on purple. So to put this into comparison, I decided to change this is the colorway that I picked, and I put it into black and white. And you can see that pretty much these colors all look the same in value, right? They're all the same, except for this green, which we needed, and it popped right out. And I believe this orange is the binding, and I haven't even used it yet. So these colors right here, like in terms of grayscale value, to me, they're all very similar, even the binding. And then you get that one bit of contrast there. So to put it into comparison, I went to Cotton Cuts has a great reveal video where they did a live and they reviewed all the colorways. It's quite a long video, but if you kind of scroll through, you can get to the point of like seeing the different ones that are available. And I picked out two that I really liked. So this one was Starling by Sew Becca. Off Kilter Crafter Ian presented it, but I believe Becca's the one that sewed it. I really liked this colorway. I think it's awesome. I think that things are popping. You can see the contrast along the borders. I think this one is great. When you do the same thing and switch these to black and white, look at this. You see the white, you can see it builds up, right? Starts at a very light, and then you can get some mediums and you get some darks. There is quite a bit of value variance in this colorway. So I think this was a very solid choice by Becca, not only because the colors are beautiful and stunning, but there's also a lot of value. And just to kind of compare the two, here's mine with that all looks pretty much the same, right? They're all kind of like, I would call this mediums. And then here you can see the Starling kind of flowing, and you got the lights, the mediums, and the darks. But here you just don't have that variety other than this one light, right? So you can just see the two different colorways. So this is something that if you were considering doing a puzzle mystery quilt, take the picture. There should be a little app in your camera app. You should be able to flip them to black and white, and you should be able to see. Now, this is just one factor in your decision. I'm not saying like every single quilt that doesn't have value changes won't be beautiful. And, you know, to be honest, my quilt is still beautiful. It's just, you know, I just don't love it. So if I were to do one again, I would certainly take a look at the values of the fabrics before I took the plunge. The next one that I like, and sorry, this wasn't a great screen grab, and then I also did cut poor Amber out of this because I'm a girl's girl, and it's really hard to take a screen grab out of a video and have it be flattering. So her face was not flattering in this because I caught her mid-word. So I just scooted her out of there because I'm not trying to take a bad photo of somebody. But this is the Phoenix colorway, and I know this is a little grainy, but I love this one too, right? So this is from Amber at Sew Majestic. And I will put Sew Becca, Ian, and Sew Majestic and Cotton Cuts all in the description below. So if you're looking for any of these people and you want to tell them how much you love their quilts, you can go do that. So this is Amber's quilt. Again, I love this one. I think it pops. You get that, like seeing this one, you have that nice red corner offset. Mine just looks like bleh, bleh. Okay, maybe it doesn't look like that, but that's what it feels like to me. So I just think that this looks great. You can see the all the different stars. You have these different blocks. Like so many things are just popping and rolling, and it's just, I love this one. So I think this one is great. So let's turn that one into black and white. So if you were to just turn this one into black and white, I would say there's not a ton of variance in value here, right? This looks like a light. We got some mediums and then certainly a dark. It's a lot of mediums, you know, but when you look at the colors, they vary, right? When you put these two colors next to them, none of them really look the same. These two might look the same and these two might look somewhat the same. Again, you're not sure if they're going to get popped up next to each other, but overall, these have some difference in the actual colors themselves. So it is definitely something, you know, to think about versus, let me go back to mine. If I can figure it out here, bear with me. Where, you know, this is, I guess these colors are a little bit different, but like these two are similar. These two, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could make that same case for this one, that the colors are different. To me, these two florals, knowing what I know now and that they have to be cut up and knowing that you're going to cut these up, they read very similar to me, but I could be way off base on that. You have to let me know what you think. But I think in this one, it's clear that there's a lot of variety. And I don't know. I just love that one. I think it's stunning. Time out. Editing Tasha here. Maybe the difference between those is that the one colorway reads solid and my prints have to get cut up so they can have varying colors. So maybe that's a little bit of what happened, is like solids looked really nice and they contrasted, and then the prints were a little bit busier. When they cut up, they changed. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. This isn't an absolute science. I'm just giving my opinions and thoughts, but okay, back to the video. What are my pros and considerations for doing this one? First, as we talked about, the fabric comes cut and it's ready to sew. There's something to look forward to each month, and Cotton Cuts does a great job with their community. They have a Facebook group. There are lots of activity in that Facebook group. It's pretty neat. So if you're looking for a community sew-along aspect, this is one way to get it. There's plenty of ways to get it, right? But this is one way you could do that if you were looking into doing a mystery quilt. Some things for you to consider. I do think this was a little pricey for me not knowing if I would like the final product, but maybe that's exciting to you and that's a perk to you and you love it. For me going forward, I don't know if I would spend that kind of money on a quilt knowing that maybe I'll be, especially because I had this experience and I didn't love those two fabrics together and it kind of wasn't a great thing for me. I don't know if I would do it again, but there are people out there that have done all like 3 million of these puzzle mystery quilts. It's not really 3 million, but it's close to 20. There are people that do them twice a year, every year, and they love them. And I love that for them. And I think they should keep it up. I think that if you were to do one of these, you should look at your colorway that you're selecting and making sure there's no large prints if that might be important to you. Choosing smaller prints will make sure that those colors read the way that they're supposed to read. And you won't have that variability in those two quilt blocks that are the same, but they're clearly not the same. Some of the fabric is a little stretchy, so you need to be careful when sewing and pressing. This is going to happen because of the way they're like cutting all of that fabric. They're using machines. They're doing it efficiently. So you just have to be aware that some is like on grain, off grain. Some has a little more stretch. So just be mindful of that when you're pressing and sewing. It's just, it's fine, but it's just something for you to know. I am not sure that they're making all of the quilts ahead of time. Maybe they're just mocking them up. I did notice that when they did the reveal, they cotton cuts themselves, only reviewed a few, or revealed a few. There's a lot of colorways. I can't imagine they're sewing them all. To me, mock-ups in reality can be different. I would be so interested to know if Cotton Cuts thinks that my quilt came out the way that they would have wanted it, if they're happy with how those borders look, and if they're happy with that final layout. Again, maybe you all like it too, and I don't, and that's totally fine. But I'm just curious if like that's what they had envisioned. You know what I mean? And I do wish that the final layout, when they sent us the final layout, was in the proper colors. Trying to assemble that. I get that every month. They don't want to like reprint the instructions with like, that's a lot of colorways and a lot of instructions. And I'm totally fine with using the cheat sheet. But I feel like for the final put together, it would have been helpful to me. I actually made more mistakes in the final layout than I did any other time. And I just kind of wished I did more seam ripping in the final assembly. I wished that we had that in the final layout and the colors, but it would be nice to have. And obviously, like I said, lots of people make these all the time with absolutely no problem. So it's just my opinion. So my tips, if you're buying prints, go for small prints unless that's not important to you. If you're going to do it, look for contrast in color and value. So flip those things to black and white, kind of take a look at the colors and colorways and find out if two of these fabrics were put up against each other for the entire quilt, would I be happy? And if the answer is no, I don't think it's worth the risk for $300. If I had thought about it that way, I would have never picked the colorway I picked. You should take a look at the previous Puzzle Mystery Quilt results. Do you like them? If not, maybe pass or pay attention to some of the newest ones until you're ready. Cotton Cuts has a very large social media presence on pretty much every platform, so you can certainly go back and scroll through, look at things they're tagged in. Plenty of opportunities to see if you like the previous quilts. But for me, at the price point, I would make sure that, like, for the most part, if you're scrolling through their stuff, you love most of it. The pattern writer is very talented. It's just the colorways that I think make or break it. And for me, unfortunately, we know how it landed for this time. So if this is like pricey and out of your budget, unless like, well, obviously you shouldn't do anything that's outside of your budget. But if you're on the fence, I would wait until you see a colorway you have to have. I would not kind of just do it because of that like group mentality, right? You can find sense of community in other ways. Again, if you like a puzzle mystery quilt, go for it, right? I'm not here to say that this is a horrible experience or whatever, just things for you to think about. So really, everybody's been asking, would I do this again? Maybe, but not anytime soon. I disliked the fabrics E&F together so much from the beginning that truly, if I wasn't making YouTube videos and many of you weren't asking me for updates, which I love you for that, thank you so much, I think I would have just left it in the bin. That's how much I didn't like this. That is how much. It was very off-putting. It felt like work. It felt like a chore. Finishing this quilt for these videos felt like work for me. So that is what it is. I don't think mystery quilts are for me, unless maybe I could pick the fabrics myself. I just didn't find the joy in the mystery quilt experience. And I know that that is a personal thing for everybody, their personal tastes and preferences. They're not for me. Now, would I do one again? Maybe if the colorway was right, And I got to tell you, they started one called Under the Sea. And I'm a kid that loved mermaids and kind of like that under the ocean vibe. And just the name of it, I was like, ooh, maybe I'll do another one. And I'm like, Tasha, you didn't even really like the one you're finishing up. So I didn't pause. So I'm not going to say that you'll never see another Cotton Cuts mystery quilt from me again someday. If they have the right marketing and the right colors, I might jump on board again. It was nice to have something to look forward to each month. And it is nice to kind of sew with friends. But I have found other ways to sew with friends. And it is a large price point and a lot of time for me, who's a very busy person, to sew something that I don't absolutely love. So I'm going to take a pause on mystery quilts, but I don't want, I want this video to be black and white. These are my black and white opinions. You should also, there are plenty of people who love it, and you should listen to them too, and then you should make the decision for yourself. I am not trying to tell you don't buy from Cotton Cuts. I'm just trying to tell you my experience. And as someone who doesn't have a lot of time and works hard for my money, this probably just wasn't the thing for me going forward. I am glad I did it once, right? Experience everything once, but nah, probably not again. But famous last words. So I'm going to leave that caveat that maybe someday there could be a chance. So let me scroll back to the picture of my quilt. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Am I off base, on base? Now that you've seen that other one with the corners, like that is such a nice touch that I feel like gets lost in here. And maybe it's because I normally work with solids. I loved this middle part. And honestly, I wanted to just kind of stop the quilt right here and rip off the borders. And like that inside piece looked pretty cool. But it'll be fine. I'll quilt it up and I'll do something with it. I'll do something with it. But yeah, not my favorite. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful to you. Let me know what you think down below. Are you a Cotton Cuts fanatic? Do you do one every single time? Do you always love them? What other ways do you like to do mystery quilts? Let me know, and I will talk to you again soon. Okay, bye.